to do my best to amplify and get started because you're all here and we'd like to get this fabulous panel started. So please take a seat if you would like to. You can also sit on the floor up here. I know that's not ideal, but you're welcome to. Just kind of get comfortable. So I hope that I don't lose my voice, and I hope that we get some microphones at some point. But thank you for coming to our 9th annual Portland Fermentation Festival. We're so happy that you all are here. We're really honored to have, for the first time, folks traveling all the way from Japan to be a part of our festival. So we're so honored. And I just want to say that our festival actually inspired Tokyo to start a fermentation festival. And that's part of why some of these folks are here from Japan. So I'm going to quickly introduce everyone, and then I'll let them further introduce themselves. And then we'll have a sake toast for anyone who is 21 and over, of course. So I would like to start first. Right to my left is festival co-organizer Heidi Nestler, Wantaku Natto. Right next to her, we have traveling all the way from Tokyo. I have from Kitchen Nippon, I have Machiko Tateno and Kaoru Shibata. And also traveling from Tokyo, right next to Machiko, I have Yuji Shimada from Kombucha Ship. And at the end we have, thankfully, gratefully, from Travel Portland translating tonight, we have Yoko Furukama and we have Jeff Hammerly. So we have kind of, making use of our small space, we've set some sake little tasting sample cups to try, and you can grab some there right here. So maybe grab a couple if you're on the outside. There's another, can you wave where the other trays are? Right over with Claudia. I believe, and in the front we have some. So we'll just kind of distribute them and just hang on to them and we'll have a toast. So Sake One in Forest Grove wasn't able to be here tonight because they're actually in Japan. And they donated this sake for us because they were very happy that this event was happening and they wanted to be here with their sake. So I think that probably a lot of you know how to say cheers in Japanese, but if not, it's kanpai, K-A-N-P-A-I, kanpai. So once we all have the cups, I know it's kind of hard to distribute them, then we can all raise our sample cups. And then after that, I'll let everyone introduce themselves a little bit in more detail. So you all have an idea. So I guess to fill in the time, I could say after the panel, you can, there will be demos on the mezzanine from 7:30 to 8:30, and then from 8:30 to 9:30. So we'll have 4 different demos going on. Also, on the rooftop, we have Reverend Nat's Hard Cider. You can purchase food from Oban PDX and also music, and it's just nice to have some fresh air up there. So does everyone who wants sake have a sample cup? Or fine stemware? Okay, so let's all raise our hands. Our sake. And on the count of 3, we all remember that it's kanpai. So 1, 2, 3. Kanpai! Thank you. Thank you. Oh, that's delicious.
Kanpai.
Okay, so we're going to go right into the panel. So if we could I know that we just had a toast, but we're running late, so I'd like to make sure that we have time for everyone to speak. So Heidi, would you like to introduce yourself and what you do in the fermented world?
So my name is Heidi, and my company is One Haku Natto, and I make natto in southeast Portland, and we have samples back there, if you're not shy to get.
And people, please move up closer because I know it's very hard to hear, so kind of fill in the gaps if you want to. Yeah, sorry.
Hi, my name is Kaoru Shibata. I'm from all the way from Tokyo, and I'm holding Japanese cooking class with Machiko to introduce Japanese home-style cooking for non-Japanese people and Japanese people. And we mostly use fermented Japanese food to introduce. So that's why we are here. Thank you.
Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Machiko Tateno, and I am kind of chef. So I work on a TV show how to make Japanese food, and my specialty is fermentation food. So my parents are farmers. They make grapes as a Japanese rice. So I really I respect my parents. So, and my friend is Yuri and Anes. They invite me. So please come to Portland. It's so nice town. Then I really enjoy to stay in Portland.
We are doing miso. Nice to see you. Thank you for coming.
Hello, my name is Yuji. I speak English for little. I say Japanese. 日本語で喋らせていただき、大泉工場という会社でコンブチャシップというブランドで、2年前から
The Oizumi Kojo enterprise started the kombucha. I say kombucha. Kombucha. You know about the kombucha? Kombucha chip 2 years ago.
私としてはクラフトビール、日本酒の作っているところが大泉工場に入ってコンブチャのレシピからフランスの神経まで
So when Yuji started with Oizumi Kojo, he was working on craft beer and sake, but he eventually began not only making kombucha, but designing the equipment to create a high quality kombucha.
製造免許を今年の6月に8月に釜卸販売を始めまして、まだまだ日本で知られていないので、非常にスタートしたばかりです。
So even though kombucha is Japanese, it means a completely different thing really in Japan, and there had been some experience with Kocha Kingo or kombucha in the past, but now nobody really knew about it, and so it took a long time to be qualified and certified by the government. So they're finally certified in June of this year, and their first product came out in August. Look, please.
So I will start with my questions and then we'll open it up because I'm sure that you have questions as well. So I'm going to start with Machiko and Kaoru. I would like to know, how did you become interested in fermented food? And when did you start teaching?
I'm bad at English, so I want to talk to Japanese, okay? So, 私の両親は農家をしていて、子供の時は発酵があったんですけど、今の日本は発酵があんまり盛んではなくなってしまったので、それをぜひいいものなのでみんなに知らせたくて、発酵を今のお料理に取り入れて 皆さんに紹介し始めました。
カオルさん、カオルさん、カオルさん。カオルさんでいい
Get
の
the mic.
カオルさんでいいの
Well, she was interested in fermented food because her parents always prepare fermented food since she was a child.
And
So,
grandmother too.
Grandmother too. That's very traditional in Japanese farm family, agriculture, people who are in agriculture business. Anyway, but unfortunately, young people don't do that anymore.
Including me.
But one day she realized, oh gosh, we have to do it again. So she started studying about fermentation food gradually. And then she tried to remodel fermentation food in new style, like to create new modern Japanese cooking. And she made some combination, fermented food and modern Japanese food. So every day she's inventing new recipes. That's how she's working. And she published already so many books. And she appears on the most popular cooking show on TV all the time.
何年ぐらい前からやるの何
And
年
Machiko and I started working for a cooking class 6-7 years ago, but she by herself she started inventing new recipes maybe 10 years ago or more than that. Yeah, 10-15 years ago.
Great, thank you. And then I have a couple more questions for you. So in Japan, do a lot of people do home fermentation? And
No, I don't think so.
no. And if you were to, what would be the most typical ferment to make at home?
Some people make miso. Miso is really popular because it's easy to make it, but it takes a for a long time. And and Japanese pickle is called nuka miso. Nuka means grain, rice grain.
Rice bran.
So, rice bran. So, but it's really difficult because most Japanese are so busy, and we can buy any food in supermarket.
Just like any other places.
So, yeah, and actually fermentation food is a preserved, to preserve. But we don't need to preserve things because we have a refrigerator and freezer. So, and it's really getting degrees lower fermentation food culture. It's really pity, I think, because my grandmother and mother always made fermentation things. For example, of course, miso and natto and sometimes sake. It's really, really bad. It's illegal.
It's illegal, but very typical in farmers, among farmers. They did it behind the table.
漬物
And the tsukemono and Japanese pickles. So,
And then Yuji. So is there a Japanese ferment that you think most people here have not heard of? That you'd like to tell them about?
発酵の歴史があるのと、あとシナミンっていうやつ、あとは普通の学級法の日本と欧米、アメリカに比べて10倍日本の方が多いです。これは結構いいよ。
Before I answer that, I'd like just a little bit of background. There's a fermentation history in Japan that stretches back about 1,300 years. Because Japan is an island nation, it contains 10 times the amount of bacteria than the U.S.
塩漬けっていうのが一番1900年ぐらいなんだろう。この歴史としては
最初だった。
一番最初の。
So really, the very base form of fermentation is really adding salt, and really that the history of fermentation in Japan started with really salting uri. Difference of opinion with the Japanese no, it's actually pronunciation. But it's a type of melon. Oh, okay. Oh. So I'll skip all the woody booty part of that. It's a type of melon that was pickled with salt hundreds and hundreds of years ago, 700 years ago.
ウリの塩漬けから始まって麹とかあとは味噌とかそういうところが始まってるんですね。で、昆布茶に関しては日本で1回40年前に流行ったんですけど、その空気中のバクテリアっていうのがいいところも悪いところもあります。
So other things that have for a long time been fermented in Japan are obviously miso and koji, which is a rice inoculated. Thank you. I need to be inoculated. And really, kombucha was popular in Japan about 40 years ago, but then the popularity faded.
その40年前に昆布茶が流行った時にその空気中のバクテリアが多くてカビというのもすごく発生するんですね。そのカビの影響で日本では昆布茶というものは、紅茶キノコというのは衰退していってなくなってしまいました。
So part of the problem with kombucha at that time was well, actually, I'm kind of adding this, the technology was not up to snuff, and so as he mentioned earlier, the bacteria levels in Japan are 10 times higher than across the U.S., and so there's good bacteria and there's also bad bacteria, and the quality of the kombucha was not really something that people appreciated.
ただ2年前に会社が昆布茶を始めようということで僕が2年前にポートランドに来て、相馬昆布茶さんとかあとはライオンハート昆布茶さんあとハン昆布茶でいろいろ見させていただいて、今日そのレシピをいろいろ教えてもらった上に日本人、いろんな方が飲みやすいような昆布茶を仕上げて持ってきて向こうのブースに持ってきてます。
So, Yoke-sama, how do you do this one?
So Heidi.
I was just.
So 2 years ago, Yuji started create kombucha. No, he actually came to Portland 2 years ago and learned from Soma kombucha and then Lionheart kombucha, and everybody very kindly gave him a recipe, and he studied and he started creating a recipe especially for Japanese taste. Thank you. So Heidi, sorry about that. I'm wondering, so as the Portlander on the panel, I'll pass this to you. What is the Japanese fermentation culture like in Portland? You can leave that down there and we can use this over here. Okay. It's fine. Yeah, then we don't have to keep passing. Okay. Yeah.
So it's really easy to get good miso. Good sake, you've had a little bit of that. I now make natto that's available. And the tsukemono, the pickled vegetables that are available, are all imported from Japan. The way that they're available in supermarkets in Japan. And I think though when I moved back to the United States is when I started making tsukemono from scratch in earnest. I did the nuka miso, and but here it became very important to ferment my own. Yeah.
And the nukazuke that you Machiko were talking about and that you Heidi were talking about, that's something that you have to take care of every day, right? Isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. It is a commitment. It's like a pet on your counter or in your cabinet. And I think that's probably why it's hard to keep up. I inherited a little bit of, when I lived in Japan and someone said, this was from my great-great-grandmother. It was like over 100 years. You know, you replenish, but the base of it started in that family many, many years before I got it and then killed it. But it's really an interesting ferment, I think, because we're all familiar with European traditions of just using salt and cabbage or salt and vegetable. So this is using a pickling bed, which is really exciting, and there are other examples in Japan of that. And I love also that it's a zero waste kitchen technique that, you know, the rice bran is polished off of the rice, and then you use that to pickle. So it gives you the vitamins. The pickle then has the vitamins that are missing from the rice. So it's just genius.
And one more question. When did you fall in love with natto? And why did you decide to start a natto business?
I tried natto for the first time. I was thinking about this as I was driving over. I think it's exactly 30 years ago, like this season 30 years ago. And that's my rice cooker, I'm sorry. And so I was in college and was late for something at work, and my Japanese boyfriend made natto, and he stirred it in with some brown rice. This was in New York, and I remember well, it was in this green Tupperware bowl with one spoon, and we were eating it in the car. This was my introduction, and I loved it, and he was really surprised. He's like, really? You like this? I'm like, yeah, this is good. It was hearty and nutty, and I liked the way the stickiness of the natto held the brown rice together. It made the brown rice sticky. So that was, I never had any it was never a learning curve or an acquired taste for me. And so I started making it, actually when we started this fermentation festival, we were making it at home, and we brought it here, whatever that was. 2009. Yeah, we had been making it for friends, and it was hard for the Oregon Department of Agriculture to really understand that this was a safe product. This has no history of, it's not unsafe in any way. But that changed as, people learn more about fermentation. There are other ways to preserve food, not just through acidification. So, they understood that it was safe. I gave them some scientific articles. They said it's really safe, and it started about 2 years ago with that.
I can believe it Heidi is like a Japanese because we have a cooking class, and there are many foreigners in cooking class. Natto is